right, well, welcome to the DDM podcast today, and we now have Brian Wadman and Dmitriy Brutskiy out here. I don't know if I probably got the accent all wrong, but
That's fine.
So you guys are both Pro 2 drivers. We're super excited to have you guys on. You guys want to give them a quick, just 1 minute, 2 minutes on who you are. Dmitry, you've been in Pro 2 before. And Wadman, this is your first time up to Pro 2 this year. So you guys want to give them a quick just spiel on who you are, what you drive, and then we'll go from there.
Sure. Go ahead, Brian.
All right. Brian Wadman from Connecticut. Started drifting 2015, and that's really about it. Just seen an event, thought it looked fun, so scooped a car, and here we are.
Yeah, that's cool. What are you driving now for Pro 2?
S14.
Okay.
LS.
Cool.
Spooky.
That's
That's the plan. That's it.
He's just that's him and that's it. No more, no less.
Here it is.
All right, what about you, Dmitry?
Dmitriy Brutskiy. Most of you guys know me.
Everybody knows Dmitry, apparently.
When I started drifting, they started calling me Crazy Russian. But yeah, I started drifting in 2015 at Club Luz North and drifted my Z3 all stock for 2 years. Drove as much as I can. I had fun. And then, like Brian said before, to me it was getting a little bit boring, and we needed a little bit more adrenaline, a little bit more fun. And I found that competition is where it's at, and tried it out and worked okay with the Pro AM season and then Pro 2. I had to skip one season to get my house finished and blah blah blah, family stuff, and then
Priorities.
here I am. Yeah.
So you're actually from Russia?
Belarus.
Belarus.
It's part of the USSR. Yeah, bordering with Russia,
So it
Ukraine, Poland.
depends on who you ask, but it's not supposed to be with Russia right now.
Russian speaking. No, Belarus and Russia are okay.
Are they?
The Ukraine and Russia are not okay, I guess. But I'm not into politics or anything like that.
Yeah, well,
So I don't know.
well, you're here now, so that's all that matters.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
Cool. So now you guys are kind of teaming up. Is that kind of what I understood, like, for this season, or kind of helping out each other, at least with like travel and whatnot, or what's kind of going on this year, that at least what you have planned so far?
We've been as a team basically since 2016.
Really?
And we've been drifting together. And Brian probably is the first person to start tandeming with me at Lebanon Valley, start pushing my limits, like getting close to my door when I still didn't know what I'm doing in the lead. And I'm like, wow, somebody as crazy as me that can trust me and tandem with me. And that just, was inspiring me to go harder and do more crazy things. And we got to know each other a little bit better. Same similar stuff what we do for a living, families and fun. We're both for fun, not like, any other stuff. We started with all the fun stuff and tried to go to events together. And basically, when that Ready Set Drift had a team comp, whatever, we came up with the name Never Settle. And trying to build that as a team, I guess. Right, Brian? Back to you.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I was thinking about this before I knew we were going to get on here, and that's what I was going to talk about was when I first met you up at Lebanon. That was pretty wild. Seeing a dude out there in a basically stock car. I think you had just put some angle kit on it, and my first time meeting him, every event I went to, I always wanted to run with other people. And I seen him out there getting down. I was like, oh, can I run with you? He's like, yeah, I'm not that good, this and that. But I was like, dude, you're ripping, let's go. And we've been door to door since. He's same thing as me, just let's go, let's roll. We never wanted to hit like some of the other guys and touch, but get close as possible with keeping it clean and just have a blast out there. So it was definitely meant to find each other there and rip together. That was a good time.
That's really cool. So I know, Brian, you have a kind of unique history with cars. You kind of drift a little bit little bit of different chassis, all kinds of stuff. You want to do like a quick rundown on some of the stuff that you've driven and kind of maybe some pro cons on like what you kind of liked and didn't like about some of them? Because you've driven quite a different stuff.
Yeah, I'll just go right through the list real quick. Started out S13, SR20. I had that car. My first year, 2015, was just a few events. It was near the end of the season. I scooped a car, went to a couple of different events, and I was driving that. You know, just did some, really nothing to it. Bought the car pretty much ready to go, full cage, and had a blast in it. That was fun. And I'm trying to think, what was the main reason of getting a second car? I can't even think about that, but second car, man, I'm not even going to remember now. Second car, I guess, was the 14.
Brian, start with your very first event. How you went to your first event with 2 cars.
How does that work?
All right. We can go back to that, yeah. So first time I seen drifting, I'm not a person that watched it on internet or anything like that. You know, growing up, and my first car was a Monte Carlo. People used to do burnouts, and burnout standing still was boring, so I was drifting before I knew what it was. Come off a quad and get in a car and just do the same thing in a bigger parking lot and go crazy with it. So I guess I was drifting before I knew what drifting was. After that, fast forward, we're out with the family, seeing a car show going on. There was a big caravan of trucks. We pulled into Lime Rock Park, and there was a drift demo going on with RSD, Ready Set Drift, at Lime Rock Park, which is 15, 20 minutes from my house. I knew they had a bunch of events, talked to a couple people, and didn't even know what a Nissan was, didn't even know anything, or what 240 was, nothing. A couple people told me what to look for. Next couple weeks after that, next event was there, and I had that 13. So drifted that, ran that, and after that, I knew I was hooked. That car was getting a little bit tired, and I seen a deal on a LS swapped S14, scooped that, and had a few people do some work on that for me, and that was one of my main cars. After that, I still have both of those. Recently just sold the 13, but after that, third car was BMW. Yeah, BMW, 1JZ BMW. Was a big Club Loose car. A dude earned his Pro 2, I'm pretty sure, in that, or at least won some competitions in that at US Drift events. A dude named Sal from Club Loose. And that car was really fun. I mean, the cars are very different. All cars are pretty different. You know, the turbo lag or all the power of the LS, you know, I mean, the torque and everything. So everything was different. I had fun jumping car to car, and just, you know, that was part of the fun for me. When the events got a little boring, I would change a car, and then I would have to relearn a little bit of what to do. And I'm not really a mechanic, so I would bring 2 cars because of that. If something was to break, I would just get in the other car. So that's what got me into having multiple cars.
Nice. Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, you also
one more reason to have an extra car, so I can drive it sometimes.
Yep, that's true too. It always came in handy. You know, I was doing a lot of 2-day events and stuff like that. So sometimes I would go 3 different days. I would go Friday, Lebanon Valley, leave there, go up to Club Loose North, do 2 days there. So that's when it was starting to need 2-3 cars, because I would just hammer them.
Yeah. You also have a FC, or did have an FC as well?
Yeah, I still have that. That thing, I bought that from a guy that would run in different areas around here. That's LS also. That car was a real blast. I did a couple years in that one. That's definitely LS, FC, RX-7, yep.
So you driven an E46, an S13, an S14, and an FC. What was kind of the hardest car to drive? I mean, it's not really fair because they all have different engine platforms, but...
Yeah. Well, the 13 was the most basic, pretty much just modded knuckles, you know, so the hardest thing was coming from something that had more angle, and I knew where I could throw the car, and then you get in something with less, you can't throw it as hard.
Yeah.
So that was one of the problems, going from one to another. And they all acted a little bit differently, but after a lap or two, you kind of just get used to it. Kind of like riding a bike, you're used to that car.
Yeah.
One other car to talk about is 350Z.
Okay.
That I bought, the ex-Slicky car.
Yeah.
And that one's harder to drive too because it's all set up for everything, but it's got just a truck motor, so less horsepower, like a lot less, low twos, and it just, you know, I'm running with guys that are, you know, I'm used to running in a regular car, and with a lot less power, it's just much different, higher gear, and seeing what I could do with it, playing with it.
Interesting. So, and it's interesting, you've kind of dabbled in a little bit of everything. Is the S14 is what you picked to run in Pro 2 in? Is that kind of like your favorite chassis that you've driven so far, or is it just the one that was convenient, you know, to drive?
Definitely the most comfortable. Just the way that it was set up, and the few adjustments that we made it the most comfortable and easiest to throw around and everything else. I've driven a couple of Dmitry's cars a little bit, and you know, the BMWs are a little bit more harder to handle depending on, you know, which ones they are and how they're set up and whatnot. Even the E36 I had, the way that was set up, it was very snappy, very light in the rear, it seemed. I guess it's all the way you got them set up, you know, and what you're used to.
Yeah. So Dmitry, you went with a very unorthodox car to run in Pro 2. I must say. Sounds like you might have some other stuff too. But so tell me about running a Z3, because to me it looks like a very short wheelbase car, like a Miata and Miatas have never been easy to drive in drifting. So is that kind of the same thing, or is it just something you learn, or how does that work out?
It's Z4 actually.
Oh, that's right.
So
Z4.
I started with the Z3. I still have my first Z3 that I learned. I didn't know anything about car setup or how they handled, you know, and I'm a BMW fan. I have BMW for my daily and always had it for 15 years now, BMW. So when I wanted to go drifting, that's the first car I looked into, and I buy them on auctions. So the first event when I went to Lebanon Valley for Ride Alone in 2015, the first event of the season, I got hooked on it, of drifting. And I started looking for a car. This is the first one that was closer date on the auction I can bid on. So I bought the Z3. The next weekend I went drifting to New Hampshire. I had a lot of fun. It seems like it was doing okay. I got to Group B on my very first day.
Nice.
And went through like 3 sets of tires. All I wanted to do is just keep driving. I'm coming from like a street racing. I'm a big Honda fan. I used to be. And so I lost my license twice because 2 times 4 years because I did a lot of street racing. So here I am. First
out of curiosity, quick side note. What were you racing? Like what kind of cars?
At that time, I still have the motor in one of the cars, but I had a Del Sol with a true Type R engine, fully built Type R, and with nitrous. So it was all nitrous. We ran either all motor or all you brought, like slick tires and all that stuff. But you know, sometimes we would just run a line with no nozzles, just blow that thing up, do some crazy stuff. I led some cops on the chase. Some cops crashed once, was trying to chase me. Maybe I shouldn't say this, but there was a lot of bad stuff back in the day. So. So whenever I did any of this fun stuff, extreme stuff, you know, I would 50% is, you know, trying to do the fun. The other 50% you're focusing on not to get caught, not to hit other cars, this and that. So when I went to my first drift event, like here I am, I can burn the rubber, I can do all the crazy thing, and it's all legal, and people cheering me up, like So I was so like pumped to do this, and all I just want to do is drive and have fun, and that's what like. I got really hooked on, you know, I'm not going to get punished for this. I'll get punished if I don't do it here. Get on track and not drifting. So, like, I got to go all out. So that was basically my first 2 years is all I did is just drove as much as I can. And even then, I still didn't know anything about car setup for drifting, tires, tire pressure, suspension geometry, nothing. All I need, like, as I drifted, I only learned, you know, I need more angle, I need a working e-brake, and whatever, you know, seats, roll cage, blah, blah, blah. Basic stuff. That's all I had. Stock motor, stock trainee, changed the clutch a couple times, and that's it.
Nice.
And then when I wanted to go compete, I had a couple other Z3s and Z4, so I wanted to build a Z4. Like I said, even then I didn't know that chassis to chassis will make a big difference, like in handling and also why I didn't know, because I mostly drifted parking lots. When it's wide open, you can pick your own line, and as long as you're going sideways, you're having fun.
Right.
I learned it later, once you start hitting tracks and you only have this much room to play with, that's where all the everything else comes in play.
Right.
The car, the setup, suspension, tires, pressure, everything, every little thing. And even the temperature outside, in the morning.
Everybody's a hero in a parking lot. Everybody's a hero in a parking lot. When you need to start hitting flips and being where you need to be, that's when it gets interesting.
I probably would never go into competition if I knew all this stuff, but like I said, I like to set my goals high where it's like almost impossible to reach and trying to work there. So when I decided to go compete, I needed obviously a good car.
Right.
I wanted to build a Z4 because I had two of them, one non-M and the other one was M chassis. So I started looking into it, and I saw that Mike Alessa had drifted one before. I just Googled it, I saw the picture, started looking into it. Even also in 2015, 2016, I didn't even know what Formula Drift is. Like, I seen a couple of clips, but I didn't know it's like a whole series, competition, and this and that. I think end of 2016, when first time in New Hampshire, I saw Ryan Turk come up with his pro car for Hot Imper Nights. That's when I started learning. That was August, right? Like late August, this Hot Imper Nights. 2016, that's when I started learning that there's a cup, there's this and that. I'm like, wow, that's really exciting, I would love to do that one day. And so that's when I learned about Mike Alessa, that he drifted Z4. I reached out to him on Instagram, I think, about the chassis. How is it? If it's compatible, is it worth spending all the money? And he actually replied and said, yeah, the car is fast, snappy, fast on transitions, blah blah blah. And it's like, oh, by the way, my car is for sale. My old car is for sale. It was set up for road racing, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm screwed. So, and I saw the picture of it because he had it in his Instagram post for sale, but it was all set up for road racing, nice white body with big wing and everything. I'm like, man, that's a sick car.
Right.
So we started talking to him, and he's like, it's easy for me to convert it back to drift spec. I can do this and that, and we started talking about it. And I'm like, that was like end of 2017, I think.
Yep.
And I thought drift building a car is, even though I'm not a builder, I thought I'd have somebody build a cage, install a couple bolt-ons, and I'm ready to go. That's what I thought. Building a drift car, being a nice and clean car.
Right.
So that was like December, and I'm like, all right, thanks for the info. If I don't build a car over the winter, I'll hit you up. So before I knew it, it was like end of February, and I haven't done anything. I haven't touched anything.
Right.
And 2018 is here. I thought it's gonna be a whole season of U.S. drift that I can compete, 4 rounds or something.
Yeah.
And here I am. It was the first year they did the shootout, and I'm like, oh shit, the season is right there, 2 months ahead of us, the competition, and I don't even have a car, I don't have nothing.
Right.
So that's when I reached out. To Mike Alessa. I had to borrow some money, get some things together, and I'm like, dude, I'm ready to come pick up the car. And it's like, oh shit, some time. So he did all the stuff, like real fast, convert the car back to drifting. I went, picked it up, came back. I only hit like 3 events or something with that car, and it was like from 200 horsepower stock Z3 jumping into like 650 horsepower fully built, Pro 1, Pro 2 car. It was amazing. It was crazy. I'm like, man, it opened up a whole new world for me.
Yeah.
But obviously I didn't have experience. I didn't have any knowledge of what I'm doing. I never even changed the tire press or anything like that. So definitely not enough experience when I went into US drift. Failed miserably, but I learned a lot. It was double elimination, so I actually won my first battle, but then I lost 2 in a row. So I was like somewhere in like top 16, 17th place probably, finished that event. Anyways, and that's when I started learning that my car is a little bit different than, maybe I drove actually Brian's car or something else. S13, I definitely drove S13 at Canon in end of 2000, 17, but
Yeah.
I still haven't picked that up that it's actually a difference in the chassis. But when I got into competition, that's when I realized that my car is a little bit different. That there is a difference in the chassis. But it was too late. A lot of money spent and everything is on it. So I'm like, all right, I have to adapt to it. And obviously, a lot of coaching and a lot of questions from Michael Essa, and he would give me all the tips, how to handle the car, what to work on, what to expect, and how to improve some stuff. And one thing he said, it makes you a really good driver, which is true, because it takes 100% effort to drive that car.
Really?
Where later I tried, even his E46 or S chassis, Brian's car, not to down talk on any of that, but it's almost 50% of effort it takes to drive the other car than my car. Precise, like being close, not wavering and all that stuff. 100% commitment and everything. So the way the Z4 is actually the wheelbase, you said, it's only 1 inch shorter than S14.
Really?
But it's also one inch longer than S13. So it's 98.3 or something wheelbase.
So it should be comparable, you would think.
It's not bad. It's not bad, but you also see it way back. You see it on the rear axle. You know what I mean? You have a really long nose. So like in S chassis, you see it closer to the front axle or in the middle of the car.
Yeah.
So the point, whatever you feel it. In the Z4, you swing with the car, and it's different.
Huh.
It's a smaller version of a Viper. Almost, it looks like a Viper. Like you sit way back, you have a really long nose, and that's how it feels.
So you're like the guy that's sitting in the back of the plane or the back of the roller coaster that gets all of the. You feel more than the person that's more in the front.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, the car is very sensitive. But like I said, now after the US Drift, I entered the East End Drift Pro Am Series. I did the whole round, and I did pretty good over there. Like my first round, I was number 1 qualifier, but I was out in top 8. My own mistake. I spun out.
Yep.
I went over the chalk line and lost all the grip in the chase, and I spun out. And then second round, I finished third. Third round, I finished second, and fourth round, I finished first. So I was going up slowly.
Nice.
And I finished second overall, like I think 1 or 2 points behind the champion in East End Drift. So that was a good experience, and I'd definitely back up the series, the whole series over one time shootout events.
You like that? You like that method better?
No, I mean, if you have the experience, you have the program and everything, and you can go get your license at the shootout, that's good. Brian had good experience and everything. But for me, if I had got the license in the first shootout or something, or second shootout, and never experienced the season, it would be a disaster for me. So it's really good that I actually went through a season of Pro Am and experienced all the traveling, round to round. You fail in one round, you have opportunity to improve on the next one. You can plan on, you don't go like, oh shit, I'm screwed, that's it, I'm done with this, So for the guys that looking to get, jump really high, it's better to take a whole season, or even like what Brian did, after he got his license, he still traveled 2 or 3 other events, big major events, to get more experience, you know what I mean? And even he didn't do so well at some others, but I'm sure he learned a lot of stuff. He can speak for himself with that. So yeah, but now after doing Pro 2 with the Z4, I learned even more. I actually learned a lot of setup stuff, how much it matters, how much it changes, and for this year, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I had something planned out, but I don't know if it's fell through or not. I might have a new car for this year, might not, and we will see.
Yeah, I feel like this year's kind of in limbo right now until like we start getting closer to stuff actually opening up.
Yeah.
For now.
Yeah.
But it is what it is for now. But what you do bring up an interesting point, Dmitry, and how you got your license through a season, but Brian, you got it through a shootout. But like he was saying, Brian, you've driven multiple shootouts and have gotten experience through various other events.
Sure.
in comp events and stuff, and like for example, like you both run the Clutch Kickers event, which I'm assuming is awesome experience for you guys as well.
Yeah,
It's
definitely
Yeah,
good stuff.
I love that event.
Yeah. So
Yeah, it's it.
So it's a big thing, you know. So what's your opinion on the shootout thing, Brian? Just kind of curious.
I get what he's saying. I get what Dmitri's talking about, because if you just go to one shootout and you win it, it could be a lot of luck, it could be whatever, but when you got to go through 4 rounds at FD, it's nothing like just one shootout, double elimination shootout, it is basically 2 events in one day, so the double elimination is a little bit better too. Your car's got to last a lot longer. There was a lot of runs.
Mm-hmm.
And people could be prepared different ways. You know what I mean? If you have the money to go to all those events and you have the team behind you, I could see somebody doing really good that got, their license from a shootout.
Mm-hmm.
And then, having the experience of going to 4 rounds and knowing what you need and the travel and the setup and all that. I see where he's coming from on that, and you're proving it over 4 rounds. You're not just getting it from one shot,
Right.
The shootouts, a lot of time they do, instead of a qualifying, they just pick a can. So when you pick from a can, now you didn't even have to qualify.
Right.
So you don't know about that. And also you could pick a really top can, and then you're going against, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whatever, you get a couple buy runs, you know what I mean? You think you're a hero, and all you've done is, got lucky a couple times, and now you have a license. So I could see it from both sides,
Something that I do see an issue with is, like you're saying, is there's no qualifying, and something in Pro 2 that's so important is the qualifying, because if you don't qualify well, you're going home the first day. And that's kind of a big thing. And I thought this is kind of a weird runaround question, but when how Clutch Kickers does the one more time and puts a big emphasis on qualifying high, I think that helps a lot, putting emphasis on qualifying and making sure that you guys go all out for that, and making sure to try and put emphasis on putting the car where it's supposed to be. Because when you do make the jump to Pro 2, if you don't put down a great qualifying lap, you're going home, and that's just how it works. It's just a simple numbers game at that point. And Dmitry, you have plenty of experience of dealing with the qualifying in Pro 2, so you kind of want to go into like how that went down, and just like what have you learned from Pro 2 about the qualifying and what judges are looking for and all that kind of stuff? You want to go into that a little bit?
Let me say one thing. The biggest difference with the Clutch Kickers and the FD is, Clutch Kickers, you got 40 spots open, 40 people to show up, and 40 people are qualifying. The one wild thing is, if you zero out both your qualifying runs, so there's a little bit of pressure. And I wouldn't want to run I'm kind of guy that does 2 zeros, but everybody has a very good chance to qualify at Clutch Kickers.
Here was
go to FD and there's 30-something drivers.
Yeah.
38 drivers and only 16 are going to qualify. That's a lot of pressure. And I get both things, but
right. I agree. There's a big difference, but what my point was is that the way that they do their one more times, it makes qualifying a lot more. I guess you want to qualify good so that you are able to choose in case you have to do it one more time, kind of thing. That was what I was saying. But
that too, so everybody that's watching can know. Clutch Kickers, if there's a one more time, the person that qualified higher gets to choose one run if he wants to lead or follow, and that's it. It's a sudden death, which is not the first time that's been done. I hear it's been done in other series and stuff like that, but it's not the way it's done at FD and other competitions.
Right.
You would then make your follow and lead instead of just a one. So
yeah. So that was what I was saying. But again, you're right. It's not even comparison to what Pro 2 is.
FD, traveling, spending $2,000 to get somewhere, and then you don't have a good. Even if you have 2 great runs, you still might be going home. 2 great qualifying runs. Somebody had a little bit better. Peace out. You're going home.
Or you might be like qualifying in the dark or something too. Who knows?
But, for Pro 2, there's more than enough pressure without all this. Who's gonna lead or just lead in the one more times. You know, there's enough pressure just to get into the show.
Right.
And a lot of it for me, it was mental stuff, knowing that there's 40 guys, 30 something people trying to qualify. And for me, it was like, all I need to do is qualify, And my first event was okay. It was good for me, actually, one of my most successful events in Orlando.
Yeah.
And I did qualify 11 out of all these drivers without knowing anything. So and then I threw away my top 8 by going a little too hard. But actually, changing the settings, I changed a little bit of the settings on the suspension and bumped my tire pressure up, because I had to go against Sean Andriano, and his car is super loose, and he was super high on the wall. Like, he was almost scraping the whole bank on the first outside zone. So I'm like, for me to hang with him, I need to lose some grip, because I'll be just driving off the bank and I'll be screwed. And so I did that for the, and he qualified higher. He qualified like 7th or 9th. So he led first, and I was chasing him. Going into that first turn, he missed shift a little bit, and that threw us off, both of us. I still was managed to adapt and chase him, but going in my lead, I went as hard as I went with all my qualifying and practice runs with more pressure. And before I even knew it, I was like, with no grip, flying into the wall. And the way my car is, my rear tire is basically inches away from my bash bar. So if I'm tapping the wall, I'm tapping it with my rear tire, and it's grabbing me into the wall. So, it happened like so fast. I knew I had to go a little bit higher. So when I initiated and tried to go a little bit higher, the car just ice skated like into the wall, boom, and there was no point. And Sean's trainee broke, so he never went into the drift. So basically, if I had finished anyhow, I would be in top 8 and keep doing okay. Probably would be a good start to the season anyway. So that was that. Threw me off a little bit in qualifying. In Road Atlanta, I had stock axles on my car, and I kept breaking axles. My sight lap was pretty good, like almost basically a scoreable run. Yeah. And then when I went for my first run in the horseshoe, I broke the axle and I straightened out. So
was that in the rain?
Yeah, that was in the rain.
So why would you break an axle while you're drifting in the rain? It doesn't seem logical.
I broke more axles in the rain than in the dry, and it has to do something with the, I guess, what do you call it? Resistance. You know what? Resistance when you have grip. I guess. I don't know why. Somebody tried to explain. Like I said, I'm not big into this technical stuff, but in the rain, it's basically like the tire's almost up in the air, and you hit it, and it snaps. Obviously, not like on throttle. They don't snap on throttle under load. It's like when you do clutch kicks, or you do a little correction with the e-brake and then dump the clutch, and there's like too much free spin basically, and then boom, like no resistance, and it snaps the axle.
Interesting.
So that's what happened. Actually, before that, my first round, when I did some testing at Thompson, like 2 weeks before that, I snapped 2 axles on one run in the rain. So it was my mistake for going into a competition like this with stock axles. Actually, I was working on getting drive shaft shop axles, but just didn't make it on time for that round.
Yeah.
And but anyways. And I also, after round 1, when I left the car in Georgia, we're making it ready for round 2. We decided to clean my injectors, this and that. A buddy of mine over there helped me out with that. When I installed everything back, I forgot to plug my Vanos back in, which is like, Vanos like VTEC or VVTi for Toyotas. So I had my motor like lost almost half the power at mid RPM. So that's how I used to drift. Like, it was no turbo lag, no power lag, and nothing. And all of a sudden, there's like, I have to do crazy clutch kicks to get it back into power band. And that's what actually, the other issue why I broke the axle, and I had to do crazy clutch kicks. On my second round, I'm like, I'll do a little bit less of a clutch kick just to make the pass, just to qualify. And, I watched my videos so many times, and I can hear like clutch kicking 10, 15 times, going like downhill first initiating and trying to go up the hill. Well, wow, and the thing just, I lost the drift for a little bit for a second, which is obviously it's not enough for top 16. No, maybe not. I kind of disagreeing with the 0 that I got 0, but definitely not enough for top 16. So I'm not even mad about it. So I had both zeros, but mainly because of the car failed. Then that's when I didn't know. I still didn't know what was the problem with the motor. I thought, after beating on the car for 2 years and driving like a maniac, I did like 40 events on the car in 2018 with my DDM and other events, and I only did like 3 oil changes. That's all I did. And a lot of tires, a lot of fuel, like few oil changes, and a lot of driving. That's all I did. I'm very bad with like keeping up with the car. So, and Michael asked, I was like, dude, how does it still last? I don't know. But after we decided that I'm gonna send the car back to him, to his shop, to rebuild the motor, and we thought it's on, you needed a new turbo, needed a couple things and a couple adjustments with the subframe and everything. Actually, the suspension on it is exactly the same as E46 suspension. The subframes, all the control arms, everything. It's E46 suspension on that car. It's just the chassis is a little bit shorter. So he rebuilt the motor actually when the car got there, and he started taking it apart. I was like, dude, here's your problem. Your plug, your Venos was never connected. That was your problem. So he ended up rebuilding the whole motor, doing a couple other things. Had the car for 2.5 months, and the only time I got my car back is for St. Louis. It was delivered straight to the track. So I didn't drive my car for almost 3 months, and now going back into the next event. Again, I drove Brian's FC for the shootout and a couple other events. I had a little bit fun here and there. So it's like, again, I had really, too. Yeah, I never drove his car. I never drove his car. It was sitting in his shop for like a year, blown motor. And I'm like, dude, let me drive that. And he's like, if you fix it, go ahead. So I went to a junkyard, bought a motor for like $500, $300. I had like 3 or 5 sleepless nights. Never did a swap or motor myself to get anything. So whatever, I put that motor in there. Took the car to the U.S. Drift in Virginia. The only thing I did was just start it up. We didn't even drive it. Like it fired up. I'm like, that's it. We're going drifting. I haven't drifted for almost a month now, so I need something to drive. So I take the car to the U.S. Drift. I spend most of the day trying to pass the tach. I come to the tach, and this is not okay. I go back into the pits, I fix it, come back. That is not okay. That is not okay. This, the tail lights, all the wiring is messed up. So I basically spend most of the day trying to get the car to pass the tach. Then finally, somehow I passed the tach. I went and I do my first pass, and the car like is dying, shuts down. I'm like, what the hell? I only have like maybe 1 hour left of practice before competition tomorrow. So I go back into the pits and it losing fuel pressure. So I pull the fuel pump, which comes, there's like a foam inside the tank, fuel stuff. So, and the pumps were plugged with that. So I took it apart, I fixed it. Well, actually, that was the second time. So I thought it was something else, or maybe a couple of guys helped me out. We thought it was something else, or out of fuel, felt like out of fuel. So I filled it up, went out again, same thing, lost another 20 minutes sitting in line and trying to get another pass, learn the track at least.
Brand new track, never been on it.
Yeah, never been on it, never been in that car. Like the hydro wouldn't lock up for the first, car sat there for 1.5 years almost. Everything is rusted, the brake pads are not clean and all that stuff. So finally, I figured out the issue. The fuel pressure is good now. I went out there my first run. I couldn't even link the track. I think I spun out on my first run. At least the power was there. So the second run, I didn't link the track. And then on my very last one, I almost linked the track, but I was running out of third gear, but I wouldn't be able to shift into fourth. There's not enough power because of the track layout. So I'm like, just thinking to myself, all right, I'll be kind of drifting on this edge as much as I can, and then shifting, to this, make it look like I'm drifting, whatever. I'm like, I'm down, but at least I got the car running. I passed the tag. Maybe I'll do it's double elimination, so at least I'll get 4 more runs tomorrow. If I'm gonna lose once, that's 2 runs, and then I'm gonna lose again, that's another 2 runs. I'm okay, and then I'm there for Brian and have fun. I already had a Pro 2 license. I was there just to have fun and get some more driving. And so I end up doing okay the next day. I basically made it to top 4 with no losses. and the motor locked up.
Oh, no
So,
way.
I think it had a little oil leak somewhere, and I never checked on the oil level. So I think the oil level got low, and that's when it spotted bearing. So it's started knocking. But by the time I got into the pits, it locked up. So if I had kept the oil pressure, probably would be okay. But anyways, after that, we put another motor in it, and it runs good now. So that was useful for me. It was a lot of fun that day.
But that was the event that I won. That was the event where I got my license. So after that went down, there was a couple one more times too through that event. So double elimination, and I was up against Ricky. Ricky Hoffman?
Hoffman, yeah.
And I don't know if you guys hear that ringing. It's for one of my kids. Yeah, Ricky Hoffman went up against him. They called it one more time, and I wound up getting it. Or was it 2-1? Dmitry, do you remember?
So you had one more time in the winners bracket.
Yeah.
Remember, there's a winners bracket, and then after somebody loses, they fall into the five. So you had to battle him twice in the semifinals after 2 more times. And then, so basically, that's when he fell into a loser's bracket, and you still a winner bracket. But then he won his battle in loser's bracket. Now you guys meeting up again. You know what I mean? The final, and that's when you had another 2 more times.
Yeah. So you probably wound up having a battle 5 times.
5 or 6 times. So that's like 10 or 12 runs just with him.
That's
it
crazy.
was close. There was a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, because I think he's running Pro 2 this year, or he was supposed to.
Yeah, he's running Pro 2 with Misco.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, their team.
For tire stacks.
That'll be cool. But that's a cool story. How you guys all kind of like, go to the same events, have fun, do.
We're like an hour away from each other, so our events, when we go to events, they're about the same distance away from each other, and he's up in Springfield, and I'm down close to Hartford in Connecticut, so about an hour away.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's cool though. So it sounds like you guys have had a lot of fun together doing all this kind of stuff. What's another event that kind of stands out to you guys that you guys have been to that was just bonkers, or something funny happened, or something that just was really unorthodox?
Every event we're at.
I know you guys are nuts. I did get a chance to hang out with you guys, and we did jump a minivan a couple times.
That was Brian.
It happens. Yeah, we kind of push each other, usually in a good way.
He paid me back for driving his car, so now he took my minivan and tried to go crazy. That was a fun time.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome, though.
I don't know, Brian. Maybe you want to talk about the snowmobiling trip when we went to New Hampshire.
We've had a few. Yeah, we've had a few different things go on. Definitely, always just having fun, But really, for events, for me, it's all about not even the track or the parking lot. I could have a blast in a parking lot. It's all about who I'm running with,
Yeah.
I just like, pushing it and running good and running tight. That's really what makes my day. A good track and a nice track is sweet, but if you don't have people you can run with there, I'm not even interested in them.
Right.
I've been to beautiful tracks where there was really nobody to run with and nobody that wanted to get close and really push each other, and then it makes for a horrible day for me. So that was the reason that pushed me into competition. When I got into drifting, I just went to have fun, and for me it was a safe place to rip, because I used to do stunt bikes before this, and I had a bad motorcycle accident, so I don't have 100% use of my hands. So for me it's just safe. The cage is around, nobody's ever getting hurt at events. Every other thing I do, somebody's leaving. Snowmobiling, you can get hurt. Dirt bike, all that other stuff that I do is dangerous. So this seems like the most chill thing to do, even though it's a wild thing to do.
Well, the thing is you got to think about. To me, I think drifting is one of the safest motorsports you can do, just because you're not going the speeds that you would be road racing or drag racing. And I mean, even when you're driving with another person, usually you're driving a similar speed. So if you
Right.
guys do hit, it's not crazy. Um,
Yep.
so uh, that was something that people don't think about. Is like, if you think about it, drifting's probably the safest motorsport you can do.
Definitely the safest thing I do. I know that. For
um,
fun, is.
hmm Yeah.
Hey, can you guys still see me? Okay, there you go. Somebody just
Yeah.
called me.
Yeah, we got you now.
Yeah. So, what's kind of your plans for the year? I mean, everything kind of got screwed up, but I mean, I know Dmitry, you said you might have something else in the works for Pro 2. If not, would you just drive the Z4 if you had to?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would just have to add a couple things to meet the rule book for 2020. But yeah, I think I'll drive the tour this year for sure. I mean, especially starting with the first round right here in New Jersey. There's no excuse not to drive it,
Yeah.
And
I'm excited about the track. See what they do.
Yeah, for sure. I'm also excited about Texas. That's the other thing in Texas. Like last year in Texas, it was I qualified 17th. I was on the bubble for a while, and then I got bumped out. So qualified 17th. But I don't know. Watching a lot of videos when people go into that tire wall and doing 360s and 720s.
Yeah.
I don't know. I got intimidated by that wall so bad, especially like, I didn't have any reason to go and risk my car at the end of the season. I was not in the championship hunt anymore. I was like, basically, that's it. I just wanted to drive and learn the tracks, getting ready for the next year. So I couldn't link that track really, I couldn't do the last turn in the right zone, the outside zone, then going in the inside.
Yeah.
Basically, I couldn't carry enough speed. Well, I did have enough speed to the first, that was only one inside clip over there. So to go around the inside clip, I would have to use the e-brake to go a little bit wider, and then when I'm on throttle, I end up on the inside. So for some reason, because it seems like if I'm going to go a little bit further, I'm going to hit the tire wall and go round and round, which I didn't want to do.
Right.
But then I'm like, very last run in the practice that I knew I'm going to have to start qualifying after that is when I'm like, all right, this is do or die. I have to either wreck it or try to link the track and qualify. And I went a little bit harder, and I did link it the last turn, and I liked it, and it wasn't as bad as I thought it's going to be. And also, people might think, oh, why would you wait till last run? That was my maybe 5th or 6th run. So we don't get a lot of practice in Pro 2, you know what I mean? So first couple of runs, you want to learn the car and track. And then you try to do little changes. You think, all right, so maybe too much grip, maybe too little grip, maybe I need to do. And by the time you need to do something, you only had 6 runs in practice, and then you're qualifying. That's it. So that's another thing. And qualifying is so much pressure in Pro 2 that it's crazy. You got to be ready, and you got to have your head straight for that. So I did well on my very last practice run, and I liked it. So on my qualifying runs, at least I linked them, and I had a 72 and 78. On my second run, I took out both of the clipping points with my quarter panel in zone 3, outside zone 3, right before the inside clip, and that's each cone is 2 points. So if I had not taken them out like that bad, that would be 4 points on the table. To my score would be 82. I would be in the show. But anyways, I'm excited that it's back on track, and we're gonna drive Texas. It's very fun track. If it's same layout, it's fast. It's super fast. Like after outside zone 1, once you hit the outside zone 2 and 3, that's when you're flying. Like 4th gear and on the rev limiter, like you're flying. There's no time for errors, no time for adjustments. You have to be like straight. You have to know exactly where you're going, because at that speed you're actually going sideways, like 80 miles an hour probably. So pretty good.
It's one of the most interesting tracks, because it's one that you actually speed up on while drifting instead of slowing down.
Yeah. For sure.
And that,
For sure. Yeah, once you exit in zone 1 and start hitting zone 2 and 3, that straightaway, man, you gain so much speed. And that's what, like, after the third outside zone, the inside clip, and then you're looking at the tire wall, which is like, no, I don't want to go there. But like I said, now I passed that mental, barrier that, like, it's not that bad. Once you transition and on throttle, you have to trust the car, you have to trust the grip and everything, and it's there. You just you have to do it once, or like, oh, all right, that's it, I got it, and that's it. But for me, a lot of stuff was new for me last year. Like, everything was new. The competition, the big jump, and a lot of setup. I didn't know a lot of setup. And the question earlier was about qualifying in Pro 2. It's definitely the most important thing, and what judges looking for. I mean, it's no difference than we all can see. All as people who watch, we can see, out of 40 drivers who actually deserve to be in top 16. You know what I mean? The only thing that there is a really small difference in the guys, like, let's say from 12th, 11th place to like 20th place in points. So that they, like somebody said before, they could do a top 24, which I didn't really understood how it works, but how it works is the first top 8 of the qualifier is automatically in top 16, and the other 16 drivers, which makes 24 now, the other 16 drivers will battle for the other 8 spots into top 16.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? That would make a lot of sense for a lot of guys, because some guys can lead very well, but maybe not so good in tandems. And, like, I love driving in tandems. I like being close and put on a good show. But my car is so twitchy, and that's another thing why I couldn't put a high score. Because especially on the long zones, like outside walls or something like that, my car is so sensitive. Like, a little input in the steering wheel, and the car does this, which takes away points from from commitment or whatever, in style, basically, and also my line. So if that was a thing, depends on the driver's count, obviously. If FD can do something about that, or they probably won't, but anyways, that's what I'm saying is the other, let's take top 24 drivers, and the second half of those drivers is really closing points most of the time, and it sucks for some to go home and not to qualify. But to battle it out in the tandem battles, who deserves a top 16 out of those lower guys, I think would be really fun and more action, more fun to watch.
Yeah,
if that's something.
Agreed. That'd be cool.
But on the other hand, I have to stop thinking of myself as a lower part of the bracket. I have to start thinking as a better part of the bracket and go out there and have fun and do a better job. So, I can't blame anybody, but if I'm going out there, I have to be ready to lose or be enough to win. That's it. So it is what it is.
For sure. Yeah. So Brian, you're obviously running Pro 2 with a car that actually used to be running Pro 2. Pretty cool supercharged LS S14. Quick question, are you doing anything changes to it from what it was last year at all, or are you gonna just run, because the setup worked, obviously you did pretty well.
Yeah, we're not going to change too much. It's up at Tuner Tools right now. Brian Barnhill is working on it. South Bay sent us some injectors, and we're switching to Ignite Red. So that's going to be one thing that'll help keep it cooler, and also bigger cooler we're going to put in the car for the supercharger. Cool. So that's really it. Just a couple of little odds and ends, get myself more used to it. The cool thing is the car's already kind of proven, so if we don't change too much on it, now it's all on me, and if I can bring a team and some talent, then maybe I'll do something, and if not, we'll go from there and figure out what to do.
Right. Well, you've had some good success in comp, so I'm excited to see you. How much have you actually driven the car? I've seen you drove a couple events in it, so.
So I did a few laps when I bought it in Ohio, and then a couple of events over at Lock City Drift. Those both were competitions. I was originally going to run the red S14, which is half the power and basically the same setup, just not as nice.
Yeah.
And had an alternator problem in practice, and since I didn't use it to to try to qualify yet, I was able to just switch the car, and that was the first time I used it for comp, and did well in it. I mean, it's basically a S14. It just has more power and it's a little tighter and better suspension. That's really it. Just more adjustments.
That's cool. Yeah. So so you guys obviously this year, hopefully running Pro 2. It sounds like we got a tentative schedule. I'm excited for New Jersey. I'm really glad they put Texas back on the map. What are the other two ones? They changed those? It's not
St. Louis and Sonoma.
That's right, St. Louis and Sonoma. That's right. St. Louis was interesting last year. You guys were qualifying in the dark.
No, I was in the light.
You were in the light?
Yeah, I was okay, but I just didn't know exactly what judges wanted from me, and they didn't explain much in the drivers meeting because it was new track for everybody, or maybe I missed on something. And basically, I didn't zero out on my first run, but the score I got so low, which everything is subjective. I can't complain about anything. Obviously, my run wasn't the greatest, but I thought it was a lot of zeros, a lot of big corrections. It just my line on the the hairpin was kind of really tight, but I still went around the inside clip. So there was an inside clip on that hairpin, which you should fly out and then trying to come back for it. I did that whole turn as an inside clip, thinking this is what I have to do, and it didn't look so good. Maybe it didn't look so chaseable, if there was a chase driver behind me, but I didn't know. I thought this is the line I had to take, but obviously that wasn't the line the judges looked, because right before that there was a touch and go, outside touch and go, which you kind of do the touch and go and you keep flying on that side of the track and then come back for that inside clip. I did the touch and go, did it, and went straight back into the inside and hugged it on the inside. So and it didn't look the proper line, I guess, for the chase driver. But I didn't know that. Anyways, the score that I got 58 or 60, 58, 57 or low 60s just got in my head, and I'm I know I didn't straighten out. I didn't do crazy corrections. It would look decent. So why such a low score? Why such a low score? What did I do wrong? And that got into my head, and I just couldn't put my second run together. So that was, and like I said, that was the period of time when I didn't have my car for 3 months. I just got back into my car, fully rebuilt, more power. I was kind of excited, a little bit nervous, spent a lot of money on the car, and just a lot of stuff in my head. So the car was not an issue. That at that time it was me, the issue basically. Wasn't be able to put it together. After not feeling comfortable in my car, not knowing exactly what the judges want to see. I didn't see anybody else other tracks. I can watch a lot of videos from previous seasons, how people run their line, and what they're saying, what they're looking for.
Right.
So that basically that's how I failed that run.
Yeah. So my question is, did you like that layout, or do you think you'd want to try going the opposite direction on that big bank?
I didn't try the opposite direction, obviously. I would like to try it.
Yeah.
But now, with the right state of mind, I think it's still very doable, and it will be a fun layout the way it was last year.
Okay.
With the right mindset, nice, feeling comfortable in the car and everything, I think it's very doable, and could be as fun as it should be. So.
Gotcha. Cool. So what is your kind of goals for this season, you guys?
I'm gonna go and win the championship. Screw it.
Same here. So we'll be fighting for it.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys want to?
I was gonna say, I just want to get used to this car. See how everything rolls. I'm just hoping that the season does roll the way they're saying it's going to. I hope everybody does what they need to do so we can get back out there and have some fun.
Exactly.
Learn some stuff.
So, talk about, because you guys both run the Clutch Kickers event. I personally had a lot of fun at it. You guys want to go quick into your experiences with that event and that track, and kind of what you guys' thoughts on it at all?
Well, for me, never doing FD, it was something that, was one of the most fun events for me. There's a lot of seat time. You get a lot of practice. The track is cool. It's tight, but it's cool. I could bring whatever vehicle down there and have a blast on it. It looks like an equalizer. That's what people talk about. The people that run it are really, for the drivers, so that's cool. There's money to be had, so that's always nice. That's really all I could say. It's a haul for us coming down, 20-something hours in my rig to get from Connecticut to Florida. But fun, 5 events. Price to get in wasn't bad. I don't know. I really like it, I wish it was closer, or maybe I could leave a car down there and fly down for it, just to make it so it's not, a week every event, because doing that 5 and then 4 for FD and then a couple of other ones puts you in a truck for a lot of hours.
Right.
But the event itself, a blast. Everybody's down there to rip hard and, go for it. So what do you say, Dmitry?
Yeah, I agree. The track, the whole event, the organization is very fun, and I didn't think it's going to be that much fun on a small, tight track. Also, didn't think it's going to be that much seat time with so many drivers, but it's also always so much seat time, well organized. And for me personally, with this car, I kind of struggled a little bit to chase or being on a tighter track and chase slower cars when I tried here in Lock City Drift before, but it's also because I was in the higher gear. So I decided to stay in second gear, more on the rev limiter, whatever, more fun, but slower speed, more technical, more left foot braking, and just getting more comfortable in the car. Basically, I really like it. I'm getting more and more liking this style of driving and having fun like that. And also, it's really good thing that we decided to go to this event and start this series, because it makes me more comfortable in the comp, behind the wheel, and just shake the dust off whatever after off season.
Right.
So I'm really, really happy that we enter into this.
Plus it's
series.
Plus it's some really high level competition. You're
and the other fun thing, like you can run a Pro 1 guys, Pro 2 grassroots guys come up there and put on a good show, and actually be there. So it's really cool. I wish there was more events. And like I said before, if there was events like that going on before I got into any crazy like FD or anything like that, I would probably be doing that and having fun. Like I said, I was just chasing for some more adrenaline, more thrill, more fun, and stuff like that. I'm not so great with exposure and all that stuff, which is not a good thing, I guess, in the sport.
Right.
I need to up the game in this aspect, but for fun and experience, and like Brian said, there is a prizes and everything. It's super cool event. Very chill back. It seems like so much driving, but everything like goes so smooth. I don't know why, but it's so smooth and so easy and so pleasant to be there and
That's
compete.
Cool.
I think too, one of the reasons is the cars. Number one, there's no kitty litter. There's no like wall to hit and have a big cleanup. So if somebody spins out, they get off the track. If a car breaks, it's easily pulled off the track. So there's not much downtime on the track. That's one reason we get a lot of seat time. Another reason is it's not filled with 40 drivers every time, or is that their cap, 40?
No, 64, but there is actually 46, 48 drivers. 64 is the cap, but there is 40-something drivers always.
So that's what I'm saying. If it was a full 64, we would definitely have a little less seat time, but that's fine. Another one of the good things about it is it starts really early in the season. I mean, we still have a bunch of snow, so we get to go down there for the first round before we could even drive here, and then we're going to be able to go there. Once we're done up here, we can still go down there. I mean, they're year round, so
exactly.
That's pretty sick.
Yeah. No, it's very cool. So what's the local drift scene around you guys like? I mean, obviously you mentioned a couple of organizations that you go drive at, but I know the big one over there is Club Loose North, but what?
Nope.
Or is it Club?
Not anymore.
No, Club Loose North is no longer doing anything up there.
Am I getting organizations mixed up?
Well, Club Loose.
Yeah, you're talking about Club Loose, New Jersey.
Yeah, Club Loose North is a place we used to drive, and at New Hampshire Motor Speedway.
Gotcha. I didn't realize those were the two different ones. Gotcha. Makes sense now.
Yeah. Club Loose, though, that's 3 hours for me. What about you, Dimitri? 3.5, 4 hours on traffic.
3.5 hours.
Yeah.
3.5 hours, yeah.
Cool.
Club Loose. They throw like 20 events a year, so there's plenty of seat time there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like going there. There's you always have fun there.
A lot of good drivers.
Yep.
Cool.
That's the place to go. Closest to us, that's the place to go to get with high caliber drivers. Club Loose. You're always gonna. A group there is just rippers. You know, a lot of Pro 1, couple Pro 1 come out of there, and now Pro 2s just came out of there for next year. So a lot of good drivers from there. The closest one to us is Thompson Motor Speedway, which is Lock City Drift.
Okay.
They had a competition last year. Two different ones, kind of a street series with street cars they did last year.
Nice.
And then also something called Top Drift, which is basically, you know, your Pro-Am cars and or Pro 2 cars. I actually got the championship in that one.
Nice.
Dimitri, you got first place once, right? Is that the only event you did?
That's the only event I did. I didn't want to steal it from you, so I'm like, here, Brian, do something. Get something. I'll show you me and how it's done. Just kidding.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
No, that's a good one. Lock City Drift is good people, and Thompson, that's a really nice track, so that's a good time. One of the reasons why I did good at the shootout with US Drift is because there's a similar long straight that you have to drag, you know, and run real wide, then make a transition and run wide again to a tighter turn. And I think that, you know, knowing how to do that and link that correctly gave me an advantage down there at the track, because a lot of people were stumbling on that at VIR. Is that what it is?
Yep.
Yeah.
No, that was Dominion.
Dominion, yeah. Okay.
So what do you do to extend drifting? Is it all a line thing, or is there you have to clutch kick, or what do you usually do?
For me,
it's line and momentum. And momentum, and just knowing how the car is gonna, not to transition too early and kind of maybe not throw so much angle, you know. But it comes with experience, like Brian said. I didn't think about it, but that's exactly what it is. Knowing that there's a straightaway ahead of you, you kind of prepare for it, like on the turn before. You take the proper line to stay wider, longer, and transition at the right time. And at the end, you brake if you need to, kind of, to extend the radius.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Is that what it is, Brian?
Exactly.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's all line. You know, you're setting it up the corner before, looking where you need to be, running. Because when it gets to such a long straight like that, you know, everybody's doing a different line, so you can't follow tire lines on the ground. You just need to
pick your own line and stick with it.
Hold it as far as you can, and then, you know, make that transition and just time it right. Time it right. That's one thing that people say about me, is that once I pick the line, or as soon as I get the line, I can be very consistent on it. So as long as I can get where I need to be, I can run very, very consistent normally. You know, of course, your car has to cooperate too, which is one thing I used to fight more than now. You know, now I take a lot more time to make sure the car is as good as it could be, because when you're fighting a car, there's really nothing you could do. You can only fight a car so much, you know.
Right.
So car's right, and you know, I think Spotter 2 Spotter 2 plays a pretty good part for me too. Obviously never had one until this year trying to tell me. Barnhill was the first person that I even met that was a spotter or that had experience in that, and we were at Thompson, I think, at a Top Drift event, or even if it was just a fun event.
Yeah, it was Top Drift,
and he was there, and, you know, he just out of nowhere came on, never met the dude before, and he, you know, just gave me a couple spotters, and I'm always thankful for that, because so many more people know so much more to me. I just said, oh man, you know, thank you so much, I appreciate that, I'll try it. And, you know, it really helped. So we started talking a little bit more, and, you know, that's what led me to my Pro 2 car I bought from Donati, and he works on the stuff too. He helped me out with some parts and a round of work on my red S14. So having the right team around, I think, is super important for me because I'm not a very good wrench and I'm not good on maintenance. And I don't organize nothing. If there's an event next weekend, I start getting stuff together, minutes before I got to leave, and next thing you know, and then this and that.
And then you forget things, and then it's just...
Yeah. So
usually the night before we're going to an event, I'm like, "Are you ready?" He's like, "Well, the truck is ready. This is loaded, but I haven't talked to my wife yet." That's typical Brian. It's like, I'll wake up in the morning, I'll see how I feel. Last minute thing.
Undecided. Yeah, I'm super undecided all the time.
Nice. Yeah. So it sounds like you guys are always constantly learning, though. I mean, it sounds like it's a pretty steep curve. You guys have been driving for
basically 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah, 4 years.
This is going to be my 5th year drifting. Yeah.
Yeah. So not that long in retrospect to some other people. But you guys have been learning a ton. You guys actually have grown really fast, and it's really cool to see. Obviously, you guys have tried, your different methods of starting out. You started out in a Z3, just kind of throwing it around. You started in your S13. What was the biggest thing that got you when you guys first started to really get drifting and get consistently leaking the track? What was that clicking on in driving that really got you to the linking part of it?
First day, that was it. I mean, honestly, it was pretty easy for me. I'm coming from a quad. I'm used to it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm pretty decent at picking up stuff when I try it,
mm-hmm.
and it came pretty easy. But the fine tuning to be good in a real comp is where all the learning is. And seat time is the biggest.
Yeah.
Everybody says it's seat time, and I think seat time, you got to have a car that's somewhat there, and then a seat time, and that's where it was for me. It was pretty easy to just link and do everything else. I was doing that first event because the car was decently set up, and I'm coming from a quad, so I was pretty straight first event, and that was at a butterfly-shaped track at Lime Rock. I mean, that was start on a skid pad, they bumped me straight over, not even half a day, and was basically linking everything. But
gotcha.
Car was set up and ready, so I didn't have to fight that. That's one step I took above some others that start with something stock. I mean, it's tough when somebody's out there in a car that's stock suspension and just not set up at all. That's some struggling. You got to get that stuff straight, and then listen to what people say, and it will get you going good. What about you, Dmitry?
Yeah, for me, same thing. Like, I ride quads a lot. I did try to drift in the wet or in the snow on the trucks, rear-wheel drive trucks, which is I didn't know that it's called drifting, but I just like to get it loose, and try to have a little bit of control of that chaos. So, but yeah, on my very first event, it was a completely stock car. I had so much body roll, tall tire wall, whatever you call it, side wall. It was crazy. Stock angle. There's not a lot of angle in the Z3 BMW stock car. Not working e-brake, nothing. But what helped me is the very first ride along that I had with the guy before in his almost stock S13 is I could see how he initiated, basically accelerated, and he threw it with the momentum, and that's how once he got sideways, it was a stock KA. There's no power, so it wasn't power drift. It was like momentum drift. So I'm like, damn, that sounds nice. And it was a bigger parking lot also in the Lebanon Valley, even though mine was New Hampshire first event. So I felt like I can do this. Once you throw it sideways, just throttle control. He did a lot of throttle control and momentum drift. So I'm like, I think that's very doable. So that's how I started doing it. I had no e-brake, clutch kick, and weight transfer. The car goes woo, like a lot of tilting.
Right.
But definitely a lot of spin outs. Not a lot, but first couple tries spin outs. Like I was just, all right, this is the limit. This is the limit. I learned where the limits are.
Yep. And
then start going. Once the car broke loose and started going sideways, I was just following the car just to keep it sideways. That was the first session or two sessions. Then then I started learning that actually I can put the car where I want it, you know, but that's like still B group stuff. When I start switching into A group and start tandeming, that's what I learned that, you know, a good tires, a consistent same tires, and tire pressure a little bit is will help you to be consistent, and you can put the car where you want it and stuff like that. Not just following the car as long as it's going sideways. So, but throttle control was a big thing for me, and momentum drift.
Yeah,
that brings up a good point. I got much more consistent when I started getting tires that were more consistent. When I first started, I knew I would need tires, so I went out and found all these cheap, free tires, and that was one thing that was tough. I remember, or even when I do it now, every once in a while, if I want to not spend $1,000 a day, I'll grab some cheap tires or some used tires, and you get those on for the first run of the day. You know, all bets are off. The things are either going to be like ice or they're going to be like, you know, the tire pressure doesn't even matter so much when something's all dry rotted or like been sitting for years. So that's one thing that I see people having issues with. They're running all these different tires that have been heat cycled or sitting for years, and they're just greased and they're getting all frustrated. I'm like, listen, this is part of the problem, you know. So that could be an issue. And I remember that was an issue for me, you know.
Absolutely.
In the beginning.
Yeah. So who are some people that have kind of helped you along, kind of learn your ways? I mean, you obviously mentioned Brian. You mentioned Brian Barnhill. Dmitry, you worked with Essa a little bit on learning some stuff. Are there any other people that kind of really helped you along the way?
Brian, for me.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. No, I mean, we definitely helped each other a lot, you know, pushing each other. He had some answers to some questions I had. I like to think I had some help for him along the way. Turbo Mike is one person that I could say definitely helped out, you know, always at events, he's always there.
Nice.
Russ early in the days, Russ Carbomb, Club Loose North, he
what I was going to say. He probably had the most impact on me when I started, because he's the one who bumped me from C to B, and he was the one that most excited anytime I get out on the track. And I'm like, I thought I'm gonna get yelled for doing something crazy, but he was the one who was pushing like people to their limits. And so that was one side of the basically my driving, where driving Club Loose North a lot, and where I was pushed to the limits and doing crazy stuff, and my car looked like shit, all beat up and everything, but all I did just was having fun. I didn't care how my car looks. That basically taught me how to go all out. Then coming to other events, other clubs, and one of them was Lock City Drift. They like nice and clean look and clean driving, like nothing too stupid, like no dirt drops and everything, which I didn't know about. And a couple events I went all out and I got yelled at. The one event I got kicked out. And but just because I didn't know any different, you know, I thought, you know, driving Club Loose North, this is all they want to see, or this is all we need to do, just go all out.
Right.
So that was good for me, and Lock City was good for me because it also disciplined me. It taught me how to be cleaner, you know, care for my car, how it looks, presentable, and basically both of those, you know, shaped me as a driver, being wild, but, you know, try to keep it clean for the driving style. But for parts and everything, Turbo Mike, it's definitely, he's close, like 40 minutes from me, his shop, and always down to get me parts at his cost, and put a car on the dyno whenever we need. And any answers, he's really good with suspension geometry. He's like a nerd. He knows his stuff, so super cool, and always helps out people.
Nice.
You met him, right, at the Clutch Kicker, so he's super cool dude. Definitely reliable, so that's another guy to go to.
Nice.
Yep, and these days for me, Reese is a big help also, Reese Marlin. You know, he's definitely somebody that knows a ton, been around for a long time. I go to him with questions, and he helps me out. He's spotting for me at Clutch Kickers. Yep.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, I love that guy. He's a good friend of mine. I met that dude a long time ago. Well, for me, a long time ago. I've only been drifting for 4 or 5 years too, so I haven't been around that long. Even though I, I get to talk to a lot of people with what I do, so I get to meet a lot of cool people and stuff. So there is that. But yeah, I personally haven't been filming that long either. But look where we all are. We're all in FD now. And, it's kind of a testament if you really want to do something and you put your mind to it, especially in like drifting, for example, it doesn't take that long to get to the highest levels. And I mean, what other motorsport are you going to take 4 years, 5 years of doing the motorsport and then you're already at the top level organization?
Yep.
It's not a. I mean, if you want to do NASCAR, I'm sure that's a 10-year plus process, or any other major racing series to where you're able to get up to those levels. So
I think it's a lot more money, and you need a big team. You need to have a connections. Somebody did it before you or something like that to get into NASCAR. Because I seen a couple of younger kids that does NASCAR, but I'm sure they're already on the team or their parents or somebody was on the team.
And they've been kart racing for 5 years before that too, because you don't just get into those cars, Yeah,
probably.
Travis Pastrana, but then he's got some trouble there too when he went there. So
yeah, but that's the cool sport about drifting is honestly, I mean, the sport's young enough still to where if you put your mind to it in a couple of years, you can get where you want to go. Really, and that's the cool thing about the sport, at least right now, until I mean, it keeps growing every year, which is what we love to see. We love to see more cool events being put on now than what it used to be, and then like for example the clutch kickers, where there's actually like real money getting thrown around at some of these events and stuff. So the big thing is drifting's growing, but for now it's still small enough to where you can do what you want. And if you really, like I said, put your mind to it, and you guys are a perfect case of, well, now you guys have just made it to Formula D Pro 2, and it didn't cost a fortune to do it. Well, you're not a good case, buddy. But Dmitry, Dmitry, I don't know. Maybe it did cost a fortune. But I'm saying in retrospect to any other motorsports,
it can be very cheap. It definitely can be a lot cheaper.
In retrospect to other motorsports.
Oh yeah, compared to anything else, you're talking nothing.
Yeah. So and that was kind of the point. Is like, I mean, compared to other stuff, I mean, the sport is young enough to where you guys can do what you want, and it's really. And this is why I love drifting. So hopefully we get to see more cool stories like yours out here in drifting. And again, I hope Pro 2 gets a little bit more seat time, a little bit more exposure. I doubt they'll change anything for this year just because the way things are going. But maybe in the future, if they continually get 40-plus drivers at these events, they're going to have to do something. So because, I mean, there's a ton of guys that want to run FD. I mean, you got you guys. I mean, the Misco and Hoffman are teaming up. Like you guys are both in like the similar
Mike
area.
Power too, from the same spot.
Mike Power.
They got like 3 guys team, right? They're like, I heard they're like 3 guys or something on the team.
Oh, well, their boy Mike Power, but I don't know if there's another person also.
I mean, and you guys are.
They got a pretty big crew. That's Club Loose. So.
Right, and those are all new drivers coming to Pro 2, along with all the people that have came before. And that's just in your area. I mean, there's tons of people all over the country that are going to that have the ability to go run Pro 2. So I think it's it's growing at a very big rate, and I hope that FD takes advantage of that because it could be such a cool series, and a big series in my opinion. So, but
I see the growth just from a grassroots. I mean, when I started 4 or 5 years ago, there was only a couple events, it was like 1 every month, maybe 2 a month. Now, there's multiple every weekend and multiple
every weekend, days.
I mean, it's just so many options now, but there's that many more drivers, It's definitely definitely growing.
No, and the information's out there for people to learn to and go check out. And the other cool thing with drifting is like the people that are high up in drifting are very approachable, easy to talk to.
Yeah, that's
Um,
another thing about the drifting. Like I came from drag racing, and how much talking before the race I couldn't stand. That's what basically kicked me out of there. I couldn't stand all this talking.
mhm.
But in drifting, everybody helps each other, and even if you're going against somebody and he's down, you're willing to get out of your car and help him just to have a nice battle.
Mhm.
And you're only enemies at 30 seconds of a run, and then you're friends again. So it's
Yeah.
like the best part, the best feeling.
Mhm. And like for
So,
example, I mean, you approach Michael Essa. He's one of the top drivers in FD. You know,
yeah.
so and it's just things like that. It's like you can approach your heroes and still have conversations with them. And there's tons of people that have tons of experience, like you, Brian. We're talking to Reese, and I mean he's been around for a long time. He's helped so many people, but he's still able to help you out and help other people out. And it's so cool that there's so many of these people that are really approachable and have been around the sport for a long time. And
Yep.
and that's again something really cool about the sport. I want to thank you guys for coming on. Do you guys want to do any last minute things that you thought of while we were talking? You guys got anything else? 'Cause,
Not sure.
yeah,
Dmitry?
Nah, I just want to give a shout out to all the sponsors.
absolutely.
That's okay. All the
Yeah.
people.
Mm-hmm.
IC suspension, Ignite Racing Fuel, Achilles tires, South Bay injectors, Turbo Mic. What's out there? A couple other companies that supports us.
Nice.
But
Achilles.
yeah, my family. What?
Achilles.
Achilles? Yeah, I said that. Achilles Radial. That's the tires. The best
Nice.
tires out there.
Yeah.
But
Where can they all find you guys at?
Instagram at Dima Brutskiy, DIMABRUTSKY, and Facebook Dmitry Brutskiy.
So there's
And
and
nice.
so this is for people that look you up. It's DM. There's no I in between
Right.
those letters for some reason. I don't know where you
Yeah.
guys learn to spell, but every time I want to tag you in something, I always put the I there. I'm like, Dimitri, there should be an I there. But
Yeah.
but
Because in
no.
Russian it sounds Dmitry. There's no DIM, so Dmitry. So
Yeah,
but,
well somebody
in
needs to
Greek,
tell someone needs
this
to
is a Greek name. Yeah, in Greek name I guess there is DIMA, Dimitri. I don't know.
yeah. Well,
But,
someone should just
on my short name there is a I, DIMA, because my Instagram name Dima.
yeah.
That's my short name, and there is I. So maybe you're right. Maybe it should be Dimitri. Hi.
Well, it's just someone should tell like you guys, the Northern Europeans need to learn how to spell because they're putting like CK and like L,
Yeah,
like
you wanna
just
talk
the
about English
weirdest
spelling, bro?
bunch of consonants all together, and it's like those don't work.
Yeah, it's like English spelling makes sense. You hear one thing, but you have to put it different, completely different
Right.
letters.
Yeah.
Mine's easy. Wadman Drift. WADMAN Drift.
Just the
Cross everything.
average white guy name. There's only 50 other people with your exact
Brian.
same name, right?
Yeah,
Much
Brian
easier. No.
YouTube, Instagram, Facebook.
Yeah. You guys haven't seen our latest Batman video. You got to go check that out because that was one of my favorite videos I've ever shot.
Yeah, that was sick. That was a really cool event.
It was a fun event.
Not the best results for Brian, but it was a good event.
It was still fun, and it was a good battle. He drove good, and it was good. It was a good event, and there was a lot of fun stuff that happened. And like you said, even though you didn't make it that far that event, it was like still had a lot of fun, a lot of driving, good time.
Yeah, I mean, even the practice runs are mainly all tandem. So that event, clutch kickers, even if you go out first round, you still just tandemed with pros and ran nasty lines and got, 20 laps if you wanted them. So you can't lose down there.
Right. That's awesome.
You're learning every event, no matter what. You're getting seat time. You're driving with sick drivers. I mean, that's what it's all about,
Exactly. Yeah. Well, Thank you guys for watching the podcast. If you're still around, make sure to give these guys a look at. I'm excited to see what they're going to do this year. Always fun drivers to watch. And, are you guys going to be running anything outside of FD that is planned right now?
Clutch kickers, all 5 events.
Okay.
Shootout 2, maybe the Lock City comp. I mean, yeah, everything. 40, 50 days. Let's go.
Awesome. All right. Well, be sure to check.
One more Instagram account. Is Never Settle Drift Team. That's our drift team.
Nice.
It's not up there, but we'll be working on it soon. But it exists. The account exists. So you guys start signing up for Never Settle Drifting.
Cool.
Yeah.
Because we'll never settle.
Awesome. Yeah. So be sure to check these guys out. They're going to be all over. It'd be mostly East Coast, I think. But yeah, the Eastern/Midwest coast of the United States, driving, doing all these comps. So they're always, if you see them at the track, make sure you go say hi to them. Really cool guys. I've met these guys. Well, Dmitry, I guess I kind of met you this year, but and me both. I think Brian last year. But these are super guys. Fun. I had a lot of fun with these guys down in Clutch Kickers last event, so I can vouch for them. They're super cool. But yeah, be sure to check these guys out. And if you guys like the podcast, be sure to like, subscribe, do all that kind of stuff. But we'll see you next time.